There is no question that bringing a new little baby of happiness into your family is one of the most deeply delightful and gratifying things that can ever happen. You and your newborn need quality sleep as the sun goes down. But when a baby is first born, napping is the most important thing for their brain to do. And the newly born baby has no understanding of day and night. They set their bedtimes and rising times as a result. The night is defined by soft experiences, grumbles, and the gentle rhythm of lullabies. It is a mission into the world of peaceful nights of sleep. Nevertheless, traveling through this nighttime go can be difficult at times. But there's no need to worry because this video will cover 7 of the most important things you can do to get your little one to sleep through the night. Create a safe sleep environment for your baby. It is recommended by professionals that you keep your kid in the same bedroom as you when they are sleeping. However, newborns must still nap in a cradle, bassinet, or space specifically suited to their needs, such as a baby crib. Babies should not sleep on beds intended for adults. A young child will likely get stuck or become entrapped in the typical mattress areas, like the blankets. Little ones should never be let sleep with the bedding too close to the bed headboard, the bed body, or the back wall. A baby is also at risk of suffocation if a dozing parent turns over on top of them and accidentally blocks the baby's mouth and nostrils. Obviously, you need to check on your kid if they get up in the late hours of the night crying. Avoid spending too much time with them, though. When a parent hears their child make even the slightest sound of distress, their natural inclination is to hurry to the child's side. However, if your child has trouble falling asleep, training them to soothe themselves is helpful. Give them some space to compose themselves by themselves and the chance to find solace on their own before you intervene. It should be apparent that it continues to be time to nap, not play, and not feed. Hold your hand there to reassure them, then take it and go away. Enhance sleep continuity by minimizing distractions. The second piece of advice is to ensure that your kid has a pleasant atmosphere that is beneficial to sleeping. Be certain that the space is dim enough that you aren't able to focus on a book even if you try. It would be best to keep the bedroom black at this stage to ensure that even while your kid is in a light alert state, which occurs throughout sleep periods, they won't be triggered in any way by the things in the area. Since it's dark, little ones won't be able to see whether there is a glittering object across there or an open space with lighting and plants and birdies outside of it. They will wake up to find that the room persists in the dark, and if they aren't starving, don't feel uneasy, and are still exhausted, they will fall back asleep. Understand sleep patterns and developmental changes. A nighttime routine should begin as soon in the day as possible. It's best to keep things as straightforward and manageable as possible when planning your nightly sleep practice. Babies often sleep 12 hours or more daily, but only nap for an hour or two at once. Initially, there might need to be more consistency. The only time babies are awake is when they're being fed. However, within a week or two, infants will be competent to remain up for extended periods. The baby's maturation of the brain and the ability to go longer without eating leads to a more consistent sleep cycle. Several babies have established a 3-nap routine by the first month and are sleeping through the night for greater stretches by the end of the second month. Even though it may seem complicated, you should prioritize getting sufficient rest for yourself and your infant. If you notice that your baby is unexpectedly getting up more often at night, it may be because you have deviated from their normal. Many babies reach their 5-hour sleep threshold between 3 and 4 months. In addition, by the end of the first year, most infants sleep for close to 10 hours per night. Swaddling, mimicking the womb environment. Babies naturally have a fright response from when they are born up to about 4 or 5 months, during which time they experience a sensation similar to that of tumbling. The baby may inadvertently spring up because of the jerking motions caused by the sense of tumbling. Babies are less likely to startle themselves up when they are swaddled tightly, allowing them to sleep more soundly and for longer periods. It can provide the impression that the infants are as comfortable as a bug in flooring, but in reality, it helps keep the baby wrapped securely while keeping them cozy. Don't give up on the swaddle even though it looks like your baby is resisting it. It is a very comfortable sensation for a newborn to have something wrapped around them because, when you consider how it felt for them while they were still in the womb, it is a particularly familiar experience for them. Adjust diaper change timing as digestive systems mature. When the baby's diaper is changed beforehand to a feed in the late hours of the midnight, they are less likely to wake up frequently after the meal is over. Within minutes of feeding at midnight, you must re-swaddle and refresh the baby's diaper if he wakes up. This will get him ready for another nap. It is possible that the baby might get too alert, if you remove his diaper immediately following the nighttime feeding, which will make it more difficult for him to fall. Typically, newborn babies will have a bowel movement immediately following a nighttime meal. This occurs frequently in newborns because their digestive systems are still developing during this time. If your infant has the habit of defecating shortly after a nighttime feeding, it is best to hold off on changing the diaper until the feeding is completed. Once the baby's digestive system has developed and they no longer have feces right after a nighttime feeding, you can go again for a diaper change before feeding time. When the baby's diaper is changed beforehand to a feed in the late hours of the midnight, they are less likely to wake up frequently after the meal is over. Within minutes of feeding at midnight, you must re-swaddle and refresh the baby's diaper if he wakes up. This will get him ready for another nap. It is possible that the baby might get too alert if you remove his diaper immediately following the nighttime feeding, which will make it more difficult for him to fall. Typically, newborn babies will have a bowel movement immediately following a nighttime meal. This occurs frequently in newborns because their digestive systems are still developing during this time. If your infant has the habit of defecating shortly after a nighttime feeding, it is best to hold off on changing the diaper until the feeding is completed. Once the baby's digestive system has developed and they no longer have feces right after a nighttime feeding, you can go again for a diaper change before feeding time. Maintain a comfortable room temperature for your baby's sleep. It is important to keep the room in a pleasant climate, but if this is not feasible, you should ensure that they are dressed suitably for the ambient temperature of the space. Because of this, having a thermometer in the room can be extremely helpful because it eliminates the need for you to make assumptions about whether or not the baby is experiencing too much heat or coldness. Instead, you need to measure the temperature. It is also recommended to use sleeping bags for this particular reason. They usually come with a small list that asks about the room's environmental conditions. Then it informs you what clothing the infant should wear depending on the TOG rating of the sleeping bag and the temperature. And because caring for a newborn kid is already challenging enough, it removes any element of uncertainty from the situation. You don't have to make guesses on things like that at all. Therefore, using an area thermometer, a sleeping bag, and temperature sensors for clothes are all wonderful ways to allow your kid to sleep happily at night. Maximize rest by feeding before bedtime. As soon as your healthcare provider gives you the go-ahead to minimize or eliminate nighttime feedings, you ought to start doing so gradually. Since you give your infant something to eat whenever they get up, feeding is frequently linked to sleep for many babies. Your infant may still desire that even though it's not anymore required, so don't assume they won't be interested. Newborns have to eat at intervals of 2 to 3 hours, but as they become older, you should gradually increase the amount of time they go without eating during the night. Make the most of this change by giving your baby a meal immediately before you retire to bed. This will allow you to rest assured that your child will be comfortable when you lay their head on the bed. This will make the change less difficult for both you and your kid, allowing for a more effortless adjustment to a sleeping routine that is more consistent and devoid of interruptions. Which of these 7 tips do you find most helpful, or do you have a tip of your own to share? Let us know in the comments section. Till then, subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated with our new videos. See you soon!